What's up, guys? I wanted to talk about my appreciation of INFP authors. Lately, I've kind of just pieced this all together. I've been reading a lot of INFP author books. Apparently, Robert Jordan's an INFP. I've finally finished the Wheel of Time series this year, and I suggest everybody to do that because it's 14 books, and that show is going to be out probably next year on Amazon, and it's supposed to be bigger than Game of Thrones. And so if you don't want to look like an idiot not know anything about anything, I suggest you get started on the Eye on the World right away. But what's known about Robert Jordan on these kind of things was the fact that he knows how to bring in the personality of his characters and really express how they feel, their culture, and things like this. These are all things that INFPs can really understand, because INFPs are background control types, abstract thinkers, very high FI, obviously, with TE inferior. And so because it is TE inferior, they're always really afraid of being outspoken about things because they don't want to be publicly humiliated or shamed for saying something stupid or, non-referenced. And so they're so shadowy. They like the in the background and just like watch. And due to this reason, they learn a lot more and they see a lot more that a lot of us just don't see. And so you can read books such as the Wheel of Time series with Robert Jordan. He's constantly going into the intricacies of different cultures in a fantasy world, which is a little bit different than like people like J.R. Tolkien, who I believe is supposed to be an INTP, who constructed and engineered this giant world, but the cultural side of it really wasn't there. It was, but it was kind of more vague in comparison to Wheel of Time, which really goes into cultures and in some ways in too much details, and it gets kind of annoying when you're like literally reading a chapter in a book where two main characters are, taking a bath, and she's freaking out because she's from a desert culture and there's water there, and she's never seen so much water in one place before, and she was like having a paranoid. These kind of things are completely irrelevant to the story, and you kind of hate them when you're in the moment, but you can appreciate it after you're done with it. And that's some of my thoughts on, Robert Jordan. He's supposedly an INFP. And his writing style and what I always appreciated. I love Robert Greene, who wrote like 48 Laws of Power, Mastery, The 50th Law, Art of Seduction. All these things are all about human interaction, intricacies, and relationships that only a person with a really high FI or high FE could even come to comprehend. And even with my friend Matthew Harmon, who is an ESFJ, he was always really able to express emotional intricacies with people in a lot of different ways that I always really appreciated and actually was kind of jealous of. Because I'm an ENTP, I just process stuff as true and false, and I just look at data and memorize things, and my emotional intelligence is really limited. And so when I have just like Effie Childs, trying his best to navigate through the world and try to understand emotions and why people do things, and it really doesn't, it kind of falls short. And so what I really appreciate with people like Robert Greene and his books, he takes normal human interactions that usually are kind of like distant from ENTPs and teaches them to you in a very simple way that makes sense. And of course, he's also speaking my language because he's an abstract, And so he's speaking in a what-if way that an ISFP would not be able to. ISFPs more or less write better music because they can talk about real feelings, real concrete situations and things like that. While the INFP thinks more in abstract terms, more in just like, what if this, what if that? And if anybody's not read these books, you guys, what the hell are you doing? And like, seriously. And then I have never typed him myself, but Malcolm Gladwell. I'm reading his book right now, David and Goliath. And just all these different abstract what if situations and scenarios talking about, people that go to college and the parents are encouraging you to go to this college because it has a better reputation. But better reputation doesn't necessarily mean better education due to the fact that humans and their interactions with each other greatly are profound and affected by other people they're around. And so if you think you have a brilliant child and you want him to pursue science, unless he's the top of the class in a Harvard or something like that, he's going to be very humiliated around people who are greater minds than him. While he could be more motivated to pursue science being around people where he is more evenly keeled with, or evenly matched or even better than. And so you see a lot of people who are disheartened in certain things because of the human intricacies and the interactions with each other, and how this can affect our pursuit of knowledge and our pursuit of happiness. And he puts it in such simple ways, like he's talking about dyslexia, for instance, and how most entrepreneurs who are really, really known are dyslexic. Is this because dyslexia is a benefit to the mind? I don't think so. I think it's still, obviously, as an ENTP, I'm going to process it true or false. Yes, it seems to be a disability. However, as with disabilities, this can grow other abilities that normal people would ignore. And this is what dyslexic people do, is because they've gone through their entire life essentially being shit on by the public education system because nothing about it makes any sense to them, but they're really good with letdowns. They're really good with opposition. And so they make really good entrepreneurs because they're able to be flexible. Because they had to be flexible their entire lives, while the majority of us just picked up books, learned reading by 5, and just went on with our lives, no problem. These people usually weren't discovered that they weren't able to read until, 8 years of age? That's 3 years of schooling where they felt retarded, and humiliated and, and disinterested in education to begin with. And so that's what I just like about these INFPs and their, the TE inferior, just really simple teaching instructions. It makes sense why they're teachers themselves, and again, education. But I really appreciate the INFP writers in this sense. A lot of people like to share quotes from Keanu Reeves, which makes sense because he takes really, really deep subjects, explains it in simple ways, everyone can understand, and everyone feels better about themselves. I've been brainstorming this all day long, and I'll take about 2 minutes. This is my theory on it. Now, don't quote me on this. I might ask C.S. Joseph about it myself. But I think sometimes, and I've noticed this a lot, our trickster function, in my case, FI, seeks out people with this strong ability. And so I've talked to a lot of INTJs about Robert Greene's books, and they're kind of unimpressed. Maybe they need to read writings from an ENFJ or writings from an ESFJ, and they might be more profound about that because they got FE trickster. And so I can look at the INFP books, and they fill that void, that inescapable grasping at FI that I wish I could do. I want to do it. I want to be able to feel. I want to be able to grasp morals. I want to be able to grasp, self-value, self-worth, judgment, just anything, in any kind of way of knowing what I believe, what I stand for, and things like that, in that sense, because FI trickster struggles with that. And so I have a theory that our trickster function is going to look for this. That's why you always see INFPs and INTPs with their SE tricksters always trying to get involved in art. And they kind of learn it and they kind of don't. Just like I kind of learn FI and I kind of don't. When I was really young, I was really into emo music. So I really loved that FI and music. And I just would go to a concert and like FE Chow, we would absorb all those emotions in the room. And I felt like a normal person, at least for about 4 hours. And so now I can read these books by INFPs and feel kind of normal emotionally because they explain it so well with the TE inferior. Anyways, that's my thoughts on INFPs and their writers as authors and what I love about them so much.